The cheating wife who destroyed our family and the magic of Christmas. My cheating wife buried our family and the magic of Christmas. Why does she expect me to accept her behavior? My wife, 37, started a new job 4.5 months ago and made new friends. I'm 36. I didn't like them at all. They were hardcore feminists, professional victims, and followers of the leftist agenda. These are the kinds of women who will scream at you if you open the door for them, or if you don't. There's no winning. At first I laughed it off, but over the last 2 months I started noticing disturbing changes in my wife's behavior. We've been married for 11 years. We have 2 children, a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. The situation kept getting worse. She started accusing me of ridiculous things, like being born evil because historically men have oppressed women. No matter what I did for her, things she used to appreciate, they suddenly became reasons for arguments. Her arguments made no sense. I tried to stay patient. These arguments usually ended with me saying something like, "I haven't done anything bad to you. The only thing I'm guilty of is loving you." She would usually mumble something in response, and the next day she'd return with the same complaints, slightly rephrased. About 5 weeks ago, I had a strong feeling something was really wrong. She came home late one night without letting me know she'd be out. I couldn't reach her. She was quite drunk and acted cold and distant. The next day, she brushed it off and accused me of being controlling and overreacting. This happened several more times. I tried checking her phone but couldn't find anything specific. Still, I suspected she had deleted a lot of messages. Eventually, I found a conversation with one of her new friends where they discussed how she was planning to ask me for an open relationship. That's when I knew my intuition wasn't wrong. She was cheating. In the chat, she said she would talk to me about it on the second Monday of December. The kids were staying with their grandparents to celebrate Christmas. Both of us were supposed to join them that day. She tried to start the conversation casually over breakfast, like it was just a passing thought, and asked me what I thought about open relationships. Luckily, I was prepared. I had studied a lot of stories like this and knew the situation was probably beyond saving. My best-case scenario was to walk away with a sliver of dignity and self-respect. From that moment on, everything became about protecting myself and my kids. I didn't yell. I switched into tight-jaw interrogation mode. She had been so confident until that moment, but that confidence vanished when she saw my face. "Who is he?" first asked. "What do you mean?" she replied, pretending to be innocent. "If you want to talk to me about this, don't treat me like a fool. Be honest. If you can't be honest, then what's the point of this conversation?" "What do you mean?" she repeated. "If you lie now, we can't have the discussion you want. I know you're hiding something. It's obvious. Who's the guy you're sleeping with?" "Oh God, there's more than one, isn't there?" She went silent. "You've completely destroyed my trust in you. Either be honest and we'll talk, or I'm divorcing you. Our marriage ends right now. No arguments, no discussion, just divorce. Do you understand? Say it. Do you understand? You lie, I divorce. I already know a lot. I can read you like an open book. If I catch you lying, we're done. Say you understand." I understand," she finally said. She told me about 2 random hookups she had while out with her friends. I asked for names, whether the men were married, if they used protection, etc. Both were married and had kids. Then she said she was planning to sleep with a co-worker and intended to keep doing so because it made her feel good. And I had no right to control her. "What?" I asked. I got the co-worker's name and his wife's. He was married too, but she claimed they had an open relationship, which is what she wanted as well. She went on to say she wanted to introduce me to some of her co-workers, one of whom was supposedly really interested in me. What the hell? I had seen that co-worker. I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. I told her I wasn't interested. I asked for her phone and she gave me the unlock code. While she went to the bathroom, I locked myself in my office. She started panicking and banging on the door. I launched a recovery app to retrieve deleted content. Within 30 minutes, I had plenty of painful evidence. I also installed spyware on her phone. I returned the phone and told her to leave. She argued a lot. I barely responded, just gave short answers. She didn't seem remorseful at all. She yelled that I was controlling her, just like men have always controlled women. that I never loved her, that she had every right to do what she did. She expected me to just accept it, that it was no big deal, etc. I didn't argue. I barely spoke, just quietly packed her things while she screamed at me. Eventually, we ended up at the front door. I stood silently until she ran out of energy. Finally, she reluctantly left for her parents' house. On the stairs, I told her she was now free to do whatever she wanted. I no longer controlled her. My lawyer would contact her in January. As she turned to respond, I just shut and locked the door. Later, I saw her discussing everything with her friends. They told her how strong she was for demanding what she deserved, that she deserved someone better than me, and that everything I had said were empty threats, that I'd never actually go through with it. What really shook me was when one of her friends said that, if necessary, she could simply accuse me of domestic violence. That same friend even bragged about how she had accused her own ex-husband and taken everything from him. I immediately scheduled the installation of cameras throughout the house. I now knew I had to record everything. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had never threatened my wife in any way. Then she started messaging her lover to arrange a meeting. They agreed to meet at a hotel. I was absolutely devastated. I went online and found the wife of her lover. It didn't take long. I managed to get her to accept my friend request on Facebook, and I told her everything over the phone, including the planned hotel meeting. She thanked me and hung up. A few hours later, she sent me a video. She had gone to that hotel and absolutely tore into them. From the screaming, it was clear this wasn't the first time her husband had cheated. "You fucksing bastard, you're doing this again, to me and to the kids. I told you we were done if this happened again, you filthy dog." She stormed into the room and recorded a video of my wife getting dressed at the edge of the bed. My heart flipped inside out when I saw it. At first, the lover's wife hit her and then screamed an endless barrage of curses at her. I texted my wife, telling her I had watched the hotel video and never wanted to see her again. She acted completely detached from reality, as if she didn't understand that we were getting divorced. I logged into her family WhatsApp group and told everyone that we were getting divorced because of her infidelity. I thanked them for making me feel welcome and part of the family, and then I left the group. I got several calls and messages from her relatives, but I didn't read or respond. I simply didn't have the strength. I called my parents and told them everything. My father told my wife that she was no longer welcome to join our family Christmas. Now I'm staying at my parents' house. I spoke to my boss, and he gave me time off until mid-January to sort things out. I've been watching my wife grow increasingly desperate in her discussions with her new friends. I don't think she's realized yet that she has lost her family, that our marriage is truly over, and that neither her new friends nor her lover actually give a damn about her. She has sent me many messages and even showed up at my parents' house, demanding to celebrate Christmas with us. My father threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. Right now, I'm crying my eyes out, searching for divorce attorneys online. I thought I felt awful before, but nothing could have prepared me for the pain that hit me once I arrived at my parents' house. Reading her messages, interacting with her, it's torture. I only replied to her messages twice, saying, "It doesn't matter what you say. I don't know who you are, but you are not my wife." My wife would never shatter my heart and soul with a smile on her face. "We are getting divorced. I don't care what you want or say. You have no right to demand anything from me. As I said, you are not my wife. I don't know who you are." My wife would never condemn our children to grow up in a broken home. "Whoever you are, it seems you're proud of what you've done." My wife used to be loving, caring, attentive, my best friend. Now she is a selfish, narcissistic creation. After that last message, she stopped texting. The pain is sometimes completely unbearable. I wish this had never happened. I wish we could go back to how it used to be. But I can't do that to myself. This is the worst Christmas of my life. I couldn't hold back and ended up explaining things to the kids. I told them that their mother no longer wants to be with us, that she wants to be with other men, that we're getting a divorce. Naturally, they're confused and heartbroken. Thankfully, my mum and dad are here, surrounding them with love and care, while I'm completely shattered. I'm trying to pull myself together for the sake of the kids, but I will never go back to her. Looking back, I wish I had waited until after Christmas to break the news so I could take the kids to a therapist first. I didn't plan it. It just came out when they asked when their mum was coming. I could never look myself in the mirror if I ever took her back. The level of disrespect and coldness she's shown is simply unforgivable. I'm lost. I just don't understand why she thinks she has any right to demand anything from me in this situation. Is she mentally ill or something? Sorry for the stream of consciousness. I just needed to get this out. By the way, I found out I won't have legal issues with the tracking. I spoke to a lawyer my friend knows. The phone is mine, the service plan is in my name, and I own the device. It's not illegal to monitor your own equipment. A lot has happened since my last post. I apologize for not responding or updating anyone sooner. Honestly, I haven't had the time or strength. A lot has happened, and I wish I could say I was the reason for any progress. But the truth is, I've been a sobbing wreck all this time. I became obsessed with reading the messages between my wife and her friends. There were so many insane and painful things written there. But what ultimately broke me was the way my wife described our marriage, and especially the children, as a burden in her life. She wrote that we held her back from becoming a successful woman and from realizing her full potential. She described me, her husband, as an oppressor who didn't let her live a good life. She said her family was the reason she didn't have a successful career, many fun, casual hookups, and so on. I broke down. I couldn't handle it. I spent the next 30 hours reading and rereading every line of those messages, analyzing each word. I realized that she never provided any real explanation of how exactly we were a burden or oppressors. There were no examples, no logic, just empty declarations. In reality, I never stopped her from doing anything. I paid for almost everything. The tiny paycheck she got from her part-time job wouldn't have covered even the essentials. I supported her hobbies, her dreams, her goals, even when she enrolled in idiotic courses for simpletons, one after another, always quitting halfway through. Every day I tried to show her that I loved and appreciated everything she did for our family. I planned romantic dates. I was there for her whenever she needed me. If that's what oppression is, then please, give me more of it. Anyway, I digress. At some point during my reading, I completely passed out. When I came to, my 3 best friends were in the kitchen with my father, cooking dinner. I've known these guys since childhood. Let's call them Mike, Bob, and Frank. My dad had invited them over and explained what was going on. By that evening, I had broken down again. Mike is a veteran. He lost his left arm below the elbow. We were all there for him during his recovery when his wife left him. Thankfully, they didn't have kids. Mike eventually adopted 2 children and found a great woman a few years back. He's doing well. He organized a Zoom call with his therapist, the one who helped him during rehab. Even though the therapist specialized in working with amputees, he was incredibly helpful in helping me understand what I was going through emotionally. Mike told me that for many men, their soul becomes deeply intertwined with their role as a husband. And when that part dies, they experience something like phantom limb pain. They feel pain for a part of themselves that no longer exists. We spent hours talking. Since then, I've started to feel a bit better. Bob is a manager at some cybersecurity company. He never talks much about what he does, and honestly, I don't really know what his job is, but he's doing great. He contacted a legal firm that works with his company. That Sunday morning, I had a conversation with a lawyer I never would have dreamed of affording. Bob had always been the nerdy one, often bullied in school. He told me not to worry about the legal fees. He'd cover everything. He was finally paying me back for all the times I got beat up defending him. Frank is a teacher at a private school. He's married with 7 kids. Yes, 7. That's not a typo. My kids adore him and his entire family. Frank took it upon himself to make sure my children were cared for while I got my life back on track. Yesterday was chaos. It started with an early morning STD screening, and guess what? She gave me chlamydia. I have to go back for another test in 6 months. I was absolutely stunned. My self-pity instantly turned into rage. That's it, no more. Now I'm fighting for full custody. I'm not giving her a single penny if I can help it. My lawyer tracked down the ex-husband of one of my wife's feminist friends, the same one who bragged about how she manipulated and destroyed him. Turns out it was easy to find him through court records, something I'd never have thought of. We talked via WhatsApp. He thanked me for reaching out and told me everything that his ex-wife, that harpy, had put him through. Now I knew what to expect from mine. It was horrifying. He became homeless. He hadn't seen his children more than a handful of times in 4 years, all because of her lies. I realized that as a man, I was legally at a disadvantage, so I began gathering as much evidence as possible. My lawyer suggested we strike preemptively with a restraining order based on my wife's hateful and aggressive comments toward men, especially considering how dangerous such rhetoric could be for raising our son. It's clearly damaging for a child to be raised in a home with parents who are openly anti-male, so I agreed and told my lawyer to proceed. Today, my wife is expected to be served with the restraining order. We scheduled a Zoom call with her. Keep in mind, she hadn't contacted me at all since the day she showed up at my parents' house yelling at my father. She hadn't tried to reach out to the kids or anyone else either. It was obvious she didn't care about any of us. The call was bizarre. She was all dolled up, with heavy makeup and a low-cut top. It was clear she was trying to look her best. I hadn't seen her put that much effort into her appearance in years. Throughout the call, she kept trying to provoke me, trying to get me angry, to start a fight. But I stayed calm. My lawyer had prepped me on what to say and ask. Apparently for the court, it's very favorable if one party attempts a peaceful divorce before litigation begins. I recorded the conversation and even told her I was recording. Still, she didn't disappoint. She started with some absurd nonsense about how there are 2 types of penises, one that stays roughly the same size whether aroused or not, and one that drastically changes. Who starts a divorce conversation like that? Then she said she was looking forward to exploring this fact further, in person. I simply replied that I wasn't interested in her sexual adventures and that I only wanted to discuss the divorce. When I didn't react the way she wanted, when I didn't get angry, she switched to open hostility. At one point, she said she needed to use the bathroom and muted her mic, but I could see her conferring with her friends in the background, planning what else they could say or do to get under my skin. She insulted me several times just for being a man. The entire call felt like a twisted game to her, like she was in control and I had no choice but to submit to whatever she wanted. We made no progress, so I concluded, fine, it will be a contested divorce. And by the way, you gave me chlamydia. Unlike you, I haven't slept with anyone else. You should go see a doctor. She just scowled and said, yeah, right. Like I believe that. I honestly have no idea what's going on in her head anymore, and at this point, I don't care. I sent the recording to my lawyer, and she was, to put it mildly, shocked. At this point, everyone thinks my wife has gone completely insane. Maybe they're right, and since I own the phone and the plan, I can legally use chat logs in court. Turns out it's completely lawful to monitor your own device. After our call, she and her coven of friends had a heated debate, but I finally stopped caring about what they were saying. My lawyer is confident we'll win unless I've failed to mention something major. So that's where things stand right now. It still hurts, but I'm starting to treat the pain like phantom limb pain. I've stopped feeling sorry for myself. I'm burning all bridges. I need to protect myself and my children. I'm going to be okay. My kids are going to be okay. I'll make sure they get as many therapy sessions as they need, and soon my wife will just be a distant memory. Today I found out she knew about the chlamydia and had already been treated, but she never told me. Unbelievable. She had been joking and laughing about it with her girlfriends. What a bitch. Update 2. I've been getting a lot of comments saying, "You're strong," or "You'll win this." But rereading my own posts, I can tell I sound filled with anger and bitterness over this situation. I might come across as determined and confident, but the truth is, I'm not. I regret everything that happened. I wish my family had stayed together. I wanted a long, peaceful life with my wife while our children grew up and eventually started families of their own. Nobody won in this. My wife derailed like a runaway train, and now that train is burning in a ditch. I don't know what's wrong with her. She refuses to see a therapist despite clear signs of serious issues. She's acting like I'm the crazy one simply because I don't understand or accept what she wants. Since that day, she's barely spoken to our kids. I'm done with her. I'm moving forward because I have no other choice. Her actions have left me with no path back. I wish none of this had happened. I'll never be able to trust her again. Every night I fall asleep in tears, grieving the loss and the fact that my children will now grow up without their mother. They have no real relationship with her anymore. How do you even answer your child when they ask, "Why doesn't mommy want to see me anymore? Does she not love me?" What the hell are you supposed to say? If anyone knows, please tell me, because I don't. Every morning I wake up thinking my heart is already shattered into so many pieces that it can't possibly break any further. And every single day I find out I was wrong. My wife still doesn't know that I can monitor her messages, or she just doesn't care. She is 100% sure I'll never leave her, that my reaction to her behavior is irrational. She continues to badmouth me, our marriage, and even our children in conversations with her friends. I don't understand why she hates us so much. We've done nothing that justifies any of the things she says. As I mentioned earlier, my lawyer successfully obtained a temporary restraining order against my wife. But yesterday morning there was a hearing, and since there hadn't been any new direct threats, the order wasn't extended. My lawyer suggested we use the fact that my wife knowingly infected me with an STD as leverage to pressure her into agreeing to an uncontested divorce. I really wanted things to end amicably. I hate that I have to see her as an enemy now, always expecting the worst. If she had just said she wanted to leave, I could have accepted that. But why drag me through this hostile mess? Why go out of her way to hurt the people who used to love her? What does she gain from this? I would honestly appreciate any insight, because none of it makes any sense to me. If this goes to court, I'll probably have to pay her a lump sum for her share of the house and so on. But I likely won't owe alimony, and given her total disinterest in the kids, I hope to win full custody. Still, my lawyer wants to at least try to get her to agree to a peaceful settlement. I agreed. We might meet this week, her, me, and our legal representatives. The ex-husband of that lying harpy spent New Year's Eve with me and the kids. The injustice of the legal system toward fathers is just staggering. Now I have no illusions that the court will be fair if this ends up in litigation. That guy's ex lied through her teeth, and the court simply accepted it as truth. No proof. He's barely seen his kids since he was forced to pay crippling child support. And it almost broke him completely. He even considered ending it all. But after learning what I found out, he has hope again. We both spoke to my lawyer. She advised him to hold on to the evidence I shared until the right time. If he acts now, it'll expose the fact that we have access to all of their group chats. And we don't want to give them a reason to go into hiding. My lawyer's main goal is to get my divorce finalized as quickly and cleanly as possible. Right now, I'm just hoping to get away from this woman. If she decides to fight, it could drag on for a very long time. It's already draining me completely. I just want to be free. Update 3. Unfortunately, this insane story continues. Yesterday afternoon, we had a meeting with my lawyer and my wife. She arrived 30 minutes late with no attorney, claiming she didn't need one. Instead, she brought along one of her new friends. Until the divorce is finalized, I can't reveal everything that was said. My lawyer gave me very clear instructions. I was not to show any negative reactions to their comments. If they addressed me directly, I had to respond politely, or at least neutrally. And if my lawyer put one or both palms on the table, I had to go completely silent. So they finally showed up. Her friend, a total harpy, tried to insult me and provoke a reaction. My wife did the same. My lawyer tried to steer the discussion toward an actual divorce negotiation, but they just giggled and made jokes, mostly at my expense. It was incredibly awkward to watch. It became crystal clear, my wife still thinks this is a joke. She genuinely believes that I'll never go through with divorcing her. In her mind, only she can initiate a divorce. And only when she feels like it. And if she does, she thinks she'll get everything. I just sat there thinking, what the hell is actually happening? I barely said anything meaningful. Maybe 2 or 3 times, I responded with something like, yeah, maybe you're right. Or I honestly don't know. Eventually, when they ran out of steam, my lawyer finally spoke and began presenting a settlement offer. One of the first things she said was that I was willing to be generous for the sake of a quick and peaceful resolution, that I would pay my wife a large lump sum of $60,000 for her share of the house, investments, etc. My lawyer hadn't even finished explaining the offer when my wife and her friend practically exploded with excitement. Her friend, this awful, trashy woman, asked where to sign. My lawyer asked my wife several times if she wanted to review the rest of the agreement first. But she didn't. She wanted to sign everything immediately. She even asked when she could expect the money, and that they needed to leave soon for a bar. That's when my lawyer whispered something to someone outside the room. A woman came in, asked for our IDs, and we were asked to sign 2 copies of the agreement. When we finished, the woman stamped the documents. I later learned she was a notary. My lawyer pressed her palm lightly on the table, signaling me not to speak, then thanked my wife and her friend and said, "We're done." They left. My wife didn't even take her own copy of the agreement. She just left it on the table. My lawyer looked at her hands, then at me. It was obvious she didn't want me to say a word until they were out of the building. Once we saw them cross the parking lot, she turned to me and said, "Congratulations." Then she added that this was the strangest divorce negotiation she had ever conducted. She said she would only send my wife a copy of the agreement after a hearing with a judge, or if my wife hired her own attorney and requested it. Until then, the agreement would stay in her drawer. At first glance, it looks like I'll get through this divorce much more smoothly than I thought, but my wife could still get a lawyer and try to contest it. My lawyer said she'd use every connection she has to schedule the court hearing as soon as possible, probably via video call. I also hired a private investigator based on a commenter's suggestion. Just yesterday, he sent me photos of my wife with 2 different men in 2 different bars. She ended up going to a hotel with one of them. So now I have even more evidence in case it's needed. She signed a document giving me full custody, no alimony or further obligations, except the one-time payment of $60,000. And I'm free. Now I just need to find the money. Bob offered to lend me the full amount if necessary. I still can't believe this is real. I keep waiting for her to show up with some aggressive, unhinged lawyer and scream that she's accusing me of child abuse or domestic violence. My lawyer advised me to stay in the background, pay what I usually pay, don't rock the boat, don't talk to mutual acquaintances, and just wait quietly. No action until the court date. Now all I can do is be patient and hope for the best. Update 4. So yesterday the court hearing took place, and I'm essentially divorced now. The official paperwork will take another 4 to 6 months to finalize, but at this stage, the outcome can't be changed unless both of us agree to stop it, which won't happen. I'm so exhausted I can't even remember how many days I've gone without sleep. So if I lose my train of thought while writing, I apologize. I just need to vent, to get it all out. Maybe then I'll finally be able to sleep. My incredible lawyer managed to get us an early hearing, just 12 days after filing the documents. She definitely pulled some strings. Now let me explain what's been happening. It's been absolute madness. On Friday morning, a group of police officers showed up at my door with a search warrant. I was completely stunned and worried about the kids, so I asked if I could take them outside while they searched the house. Thankfully, they agreed. They didn't explain much, but gave me a copy of the warrant. I was so shocked I couldn't even understand what it said at first. It turns out everyone who suspected my wife's behavior might be drug-related was probably right. At the very least, that's one of the factors involved. The police began turning the house upside down. I called my lawyer. She spoke with them, but the warrant was legitimate, so there was nothing she could do at that moment. Then I remembered I had cameras installed throughout the house, just in case of false accusations. I have video and audio recordings of everything that happened, so I may be able to file a complaint later if I choose to. Honestly, I'm not sure I'll even have the energy or will to do that. Maybe I'll just accept it and move on. At the time, I didn't know this, but my wife had been driving around in my car with 3 of her friends. They were high and completely drunk when they crashed at high speed into someone's house. They were all arrested. Several of them were seriously injured. One of the passengers was in critical condition, and it was unclear if she would survive. The ringleader of the group was that same friend of my wife's. Let's call her Henrietta. She's the one who bragged about screwing over her ex-husband. After the crash, I gave a statement to police explaining that my wife no longer lived with me. She had moved in with her parents. I said I had no idea what she was doing or who she was with. And no, I never gave Henrietta permission to drive my car. When I got back home, I just broke down. The house was a wreck. It felt like the last straw. The only thing I could think to do was call my father. He came and picked up me and the kids and took us to stay with him and my mom. Then my dad rallied a whole group of 26 friends and relatives. While I sat in the backyard eating my mom's amazing cooking and feeling sorry for myself, they completely cleaned and fixed up my house. They cleaned every room, washed all the clothes, did the dishes, scrubbed the furniture, even wiped down the ceilings and walls. The house had never been that clean. They even repaired all the small things, like loose doorknobs, squeaky hinges, etc. I was in complete disbelief that they did all of that for me. I have no idea how I'll ever be able to repay them. Over that weekend, I went from thinking about ending it all to feeling, not great, but stable, all thanks to them. As for Henrietta's house, the police found a massive amount of drugs there. Her boyfriend wasn't even home. There were only kids in the house, alone. Child Protective Services took the children, and on Saturday, Henrietta's ex-husband was granted temporary emergency custody. He showed the judge the messages I had provided, combined with the fact that the kids had been abandoned and that there were drugs all over the home. The judge granted him custody without much difficulty. Henrietta's ex was overjoyed. He hadn't seen his kids properly in 5 years. He had actually been saving up money to file a lawsuit against her. And then this happened. He still has to go to court to make the custody permanent, but the chances are extremely high that he'll win. Everyone expects Henrietta to go to prison. If her friend, the one in critical condition, doesn't survive, she'll likely serve a long sentence. After all this, Henrietta's ex plans to sue her for child support and damages for the hell she put him through. But honestly, he's not counting on anything. He doesn't want to waste more time in court. He just wants to be with his kids and give them a good life. It's obvious Henrietta never cared about her kids. My friend Bob once again stepped up and helped Henrietta's ex find an apartment through a connection. That's when I realized I knew almost nothing about Bob's personal or professional life. I really need to fix that. Back to the crash, Henrietta was the driver. Everyone in the car was seriously hurt. Because of the circumstances, the drugs, the alcohol, warrants were issued for the homes of everyone involved. My wife is still legally registered at my address. So on Sunday, I decided I would sell the house and leave as soon as possible. I was terrified that something like this could happen again. That same day, I got a call from my wife's parents. Their home had also been searched. They had visited her in jail on Saturday and no longer believed a single word she said. They came over on Sunday to talk. Turns out she had lied to them about everything. On all those nights when she went out partying and cheating, she told them she was staying at my place and that we were trying to work things out. They had no idea what was really happening, no idea what she did to me and to the kids. They knew she had cheated, but thought it was a one-time drunken mistake. That's what she had told them. On Monday, my wife called me from jail asking me to post her $15,000 bail. Her parents had already refused after speaking to my lawyer. My lawyer prepared documents stating that if I paid the bail, the amount would be deducted from our settlement. The agreement also specified that the bail refund would go to her mother, not to her, to prevent her from blowing it on something reckless. It was basically an excuse to miss the divorce hearing. So she asked me to bail her out. She had no choice. She signed the documents. She was released Monday afternoon. According to her parents, she refused to meet the conditions they gave her in order to stay at their house. Conditions like giving up drugs, going to rehab, full transparency, cutting ties with toxic friends, and so on. On Tuesday, she left their house and went to stay with one of her friends. She missed her divorce hearing. After I showed the judge all the evidence, including what had happened over the weekend, I was granted full custody of the children. The agreement was approved as previously discussed. Everything went quickly. The hearing lasted just 30 minutes. Final processing will still take 4 to 6 months, but in practice, it's done. Nothing will change now. So here I am. I can't sleep. Everyone congratulated me as if I'd won some great victory. But I don't feel like I won anything. All I feel is pain. I still love my wife. I know it's over and there's no going back. But until recently, she was my best friend. my soulmate. Even though my love for her is badly wounded, it's still alive, and it hurts like hell. There are no winners here. I lost, she lost, and the children lost too. I have no words. It feels like people are asking me to celebrate the fact that I've lost both legs. But thanks to my efforts, one was amputated below the knee and the other above. When people congratulate me, it feels like they're praising me for saving half a kneecap, when I still lost both legs. That's why I can't sleep. And when I do, I have horrible nightmares. I wake up soaked in sweat. Sorry for complaining. Today I got a call from the hospital. My ex-wife was hospitalized. I'm still listed as her emergency contact, and she's still on my health insurance. There had been a fight. She lost several teeth, broke her jaw, and has to remain under observation for several days. I called her parents, and when we arrived at the hospital, we found out her new friends had beaten her up badly. Apparently, they had learned that Henrietta's ex had messages proving what she'd done, and those messages had come from my wife's phone. They assumed my wife had shared them with him, which is why they beat her and kicked her out of their group. Shockingly, she still doesn't realize I can track her phone. I'm going to keep acting the same way. I'll continue paying for her insurance, phone, etc. until I receive the final documents. I still can't believe this is real. Not until I have the papers in my hand. Right now, she has nothing. She asked if she could come home. I just replied, not in a million years. Her mother won't give her a single cent unless she gets clean and stays that way for at least a year. They offered to let her live with them, but with strict conditions. If she doesn't accept, I have no idea how she'll survive. This was the first time I saw even a hint of remorse from her since all of this started. But I think she's only sorry that she can't keep living her insane life. She said, "I'm sorry I ruined everything," but I think she didn't really mean it. She barely made eye contact while I was there. It was painful to see her in that condition. A part of me wanted to protect her, but she's an adult. Her behavior is dangerous and unpredictable, and I have to protect my children. She didn't ask about the divorce hearing. She didn't ask about her friend who's in critical condition. She just sat there looking annoyed. I still don't understand how this happened. She lost everything. She destroyed her family and hurt so many people. For what? For pleasure? For random hookups? Update 5. I was planning to post this update yesterday, but I was completely drained. I'm in a strange, depressed state, very, very tired. I hardly sleep, and when I do, I'm haunted by nightmares. The good news is that the kids are doing better. My dad is a hero. I don't know what I'd do without him. We went to his cabin for the weekend to go skiing, just me, him, and the kids. It was amazing. I barely communicate with my ex, but I did talk to one of her friends, the one who was in critical condition. She woke up, but she looks terrible. I spoke with her nurse, and she said it's sad that no one has visited her all this time. They contacted her family, but they refused to come. I'm worried that the people who attacked my ex might come after me or the kids, so I asked the nurse if I could speak with her. She agreed. I know I shouldn't have, but I needed to understand what happened, what had been going on since my wife met them. The woman started by asking if I wanted her to take care of me for $20. It was uncomfortable. I offered her $50 instead for information. She told me all of my wife's new friends were addicts. Henrietta dragged my wife into the group. 2 of the women didn't want her involved, but Henrietta convinced her to try the drugs and party with them. They sold sex to afford their habits. Henrietta was the ringleader. They all preached feminist slogans like, "My body, my choice." But in reality, she said, it was all nonsense to protect their fragile egos. In truth, they were just selling themselves to pay for drugs. My wife completely bought into it and quickly became addicted like the others. Once she was hooked, she started selling herself too. It's hard to accept that the person you loved most in the world became a prostitute for her addiction. No wonder she only ever talked about money. According to this friend, they mostly used crystal meth. No one visited her because she lied, stole, and betrayed everyone around her. She said she didn't even cry when she woke up, just felt sorry she survived. She had no hope for the future. Without makeup, she looked like death. It broke me. I cried listening to her. I don't justify my wife's choices. She chose this path, and now she'll pay the price. The friend also told me who had beaten up my wife. More on that later. Henrietta was charged with multiple counts: threats to kill, resisting arrest, drug possession, prostitution, trafficking, abuse, DUI, property damage, and grand theft auto. She was denied bail as a flight risk. She's likely going away for a long time. At least I hope so. Before continuing, I want to thank everyone who shared their experiences dealing with addicts. Many warned me that my wife might try to take her own life when she realized she was cornered. You were right. I had already warned her father that this was likely, so we decided to keep a close eye on her. She still doesn't know that I can access her phone. On Saturday, while we were at the cabin, I received a message from her. It read like a suicide note. She wrote about her addiction, sex work, how she let everyone down, and that she was going to do the only thing she had left. I immediately called her father. Since I had phone access, I also knew where she was. Her dad rushed to the location and found her unconscious on a park bench. She was taken to the hospital with severe hypothermia. It's terrifying to think what would have happened if he'd arrived a few minutes later. She's now on strong medication. Her father has been appointed her legal guardian. She can no longer refuse treatment. He had her committed to a rehab center where she will undergo a full recovery program. It should begin this week. He was granted guardianship not just because of the drugs, but because she abandoned her children. Luckily, I hadn't yet cancelled her insurance, so the treatment is covered. I offered to help her dad financially, but only on the condition that she never finds out it was me. I'm still afraid those who beat her might come after me or the kids. Reminder, Henrietta's ex presented their group chats in court. Everyone thinks my wife leaked them. I discussed this with Henrietta's ex. He said he'd handle it, since he was the one who benefited. And by the way, Henrietta's ex is huge. Grew up on a farm, built like a wall of muscle. He bends when walking through doorways. Buzz cut, facial scars, intimidating. But deep down, he's kind and patient. Still, if he needs to, he'll use force. He went to the apartment of the guys who beat my wife, said it was a dump. He grabbed two of them by the neck and told them Henrietta had given him the messages. He told them either go to the police and confess to the assault or settle this like men right there and then. They chose the police, fast, so I'm no longer worried about them. I found a new apartment and will move soon. Bob helped again. In summary, I'm still depressed, but my friends and family are holding me up. I know I have to stay strong for the kids. My heart still aches for my ex-wife. Despite everything, I don't regret marrying her. I still love her, even though I know we'll never be together again. She's not the person she once was. There's too much pain between us, but before all this, we had a good life. I wouldn't have my kids without her, and I'd never give them up. I know there's more pain ahead. I just hope I have the strength to endure it. Strangely, finding out my wife was an addict helped the kids cope. It's easier to explain that mom is sick and recovery takes time. I keep telling them she still loves them. That hasn't changed. Right now, I'm sad. I'm tired. Henrietta's ex is here with the kids. We're about to watch Madagascar 3. I'm trying to create as many good new memories as possible. He's doing the same. His kids and mine are doing much better. I think we're going to be okay. Thank you all for your help. Final update. My ex-wife took her life in rehab. We don't know how she got the drugs. It's believed a packet ruptured inside her. I will no longer be posting updates. Thank you all for your advice and support. Yes, this is a heartbreaking story. Let me know in the comments what you think. My take, it's incredibly tragic that the husband couldn't stop loving his wife, even after everything she did. But on the other hand, isn't that what we all dream of? Someone who will love us unconditionally. They say a wife is not real family, but in this case, she was even more than that. It's terrifying what addiction can do to a person. Thank you for watching until the end. Please watch our previous stories here and subscribe to our channel. We have many more powerful stories to come. Wishing you all strength and health.